Okay, guys, we've had some difficulties getting this thing launched, and now I'm looking for my guest, Chris. Let me send him a message to try to log back in. Um, Give me 1 second, guys. This is very frustrating. We the company that provides our software had a major upgrade. Supposed to have a whole lot of new, great, fun things to do with this particular webinar and with this software, and I thought I had figured out. So I've messaged Chris, and I think he's going to try to log back in. Hopefully he'll show up. I see Telex Tree sent a message there if anybody wants to put something in the chat room. Hi, Paul. How are you? Man, I'm glad you got so much patience. That's 17 minutes after the start, and you guys are still hanging in there. I really appreciate that. And so, okay, Chris says he's in, but I'm still not seeing him. So, Chris, when you pop in there, hopefully you'll pop in there in a second. Maybe there's just a slight delay. Hey, Matthew and Chris. Oh, wait, Chris, is that you that said hi, everyone? Let's do this. Evening. Not sure what that means, Mike. It's in the evening. Yes, it is. Chris, if that's you, I see your chat feature there, but can you may have to close your browser and log back in. Let me tell him that. Okay. Chris, I'm gonna send you a different link. You must have just a regular link. Let me open up Facebook. Let me go over here and get your link, Chris. And all right, Chris, I'm logging in. I'm going to go to personal message, send you a personal message with your admin login. I think you've logged in as just an attendee, which is okay. Guys, just give us a few more seconds or a minute or two here. Come on, Facebook. Okay. All right, Chris, here's your special link, brother. Try that one. Log out. Make sure you're using Chrome when you log in, Chris. So log out, open Chrome, click on that link, and we should be good to go. So looks like we got about 52 people in the room. Man, I'm so glad you got. There we go. Brother, are you there?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I see you, man. I hear you.
Okay, well then I'm here. I apologize. I was sitting there.
No, that's not your fault.
Chat and Facebook you, but I couldn't get in to see me, so I apologize.
It's all right. You got in, brother.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I got in. This is the software we use called Webinar Jam. They just had a major upgrade, and it's supposed to be more new and improved. But man, it's kind of particular. If you don't hold your nose right, you wind up coming in 17 minutes late, like I did.
Well,
And we
really
still
like
got
the back end of it. I'll give you that. It's the Google Hangout back end. I love it.
Yeah, it's based on Google. It's built on Google Hangouts, but they got a lot of features that plan on using. So, all right. So we got Chris Wilkey on the line. Looks like, what are you drinking there? Is that a root beer or a real beer?
We're not going to talk about that. I apologize.
I have no problem with that. I'm going to go get me one now.
Well, yeah, this is, if you'll notice, I'm in my garage right now, and I actually have a kegerator back there, and this is one of my a beer that I drink, and I do this all the time, so I apologize. I just grab a beer when I'm doing a hangout or a thing and sit back.
Dude, this is casual Amazon. It's hanging out. This is not Amazon tuxedo night. So yeah, you got your wide stripes. I got my pin stripes, so we're good to go here.
There we go.
All right. So Chris, why don't you give us an introduction about who you are? And just before you say that, just let everybody know this is a private label, FBA style Amazon Hangout. I don't know how many of you guys, if this is your first night, our first time on our Hangout. But basically, we find successful Amazon sellers and we seek them out and we bring them on here. And I act like an investigative reporter or a prosecuting attorney and ask a bunch of questions and see if we can pick your brain dry and see if there's anything we might be able to learn that can improve our business. So with that said, give us an intro and a background about who you are and why we brought you on here.
Yeah, not a problem. So my name's Chris Wilkey. Some of you on here are probably members of my FBA Master Group because I know Jake's been throwing that up there for everybody to join. I started in Amazon last March, the same time I actually sold my digital marketing company. So my background is heavy in econ, sales, and digital marketing. So started doing Amazon at the same time and kind of grew that while I was starting a new job. So it was a very interesting run. So now I currently have a full-time position as a digital marketer, really running on social media, YouTube, all of that. I run it for some large companies. But then my part-time job is Amazon, which I do in the evenings and on the weekends. And I make, last year I sold about $200,000 plus worth of inventory just on the weekends and in the evenings. And my goal with the groups that I run is to basically educate people on how to do it in a business fashion instead of just a great hobby of buying, selling things, picking a private label item, really focusing on the business side of it. So that's kind of a little bit of me. I'm a strong business guy through and through. And everything I look at is in like terms of supply and demand and equilibrium prices, everything I learned in college. So that's kind of a little bit background about me. So if you need more, let me know, but that's my typical spiel.
Okay. Do you, when you say you went to school did you go to school for business or what did you study in school? Just curious.
I went to Ball State University and I have a degree in economics and a degree in sales, actually.
Nice. Okay.
So
So that's a
yeah.
pretty good combination. And what caused you're working for this, are you working for a company that they send you out and you have accounts that you work with or are you independent? How does that work on your digital marketing, your daytime job?
Not a problem. I work in an agency about 10 people and I work with one of my best friends actually. And I have a bunch of different accounts, but I'm always in-house. So I sit in front of a computer all day. And my job is to basically monitor their social media networks, create content for them, and just be their social presence online.
Okay. So how does that watch? What are some of the things you've learned from your digital job that you've translated into the Amazon world?
So it's really funny because especially, and I think your last webinar was over optimizing listings. Was that correct when I was looking at it? That's one thing I did learn because what we do a lot is we'll do the SEO for websites, and we know that you got to have really strong content that is answering really needs-based questions, but also that search engines can read. So when we're writing blogs for different clients or we are writing different parts of a website, we always have to think through a consumer's perspective, but we also have to think through what a search engine or an algorithm's looking as well. So anytime I create a listing, I always go through and optimize it for any product that I'm selling or putting up there, because I know as a consumer, I have to be able to find it. And I know that Amazon search algorithms are constantly changing, picking up new things. And I just kind of look at it a lot like Google when we're optimizing for our clients as well.
So tell us about Amazon's algorithm. What do you know about it? I mean, it's for the average person, that's like a foreign word. And then secondly, it's like, okay, even if I understood what algorithm is, how the heck would you know what it is or what they're doing or how it's changing? What are the clues that tell you that it's changing or what it's doing?
So the way I like to look at it is I always like to model everything off of Google. And if you'll notice, so I've started seeing the ads on Amazon where they're going through the bottom. They're related searches that are popping up on different places. They're really just picking all different bits of information along the way and are using that to basically make your sale as easy as possible. So in algorithm terms, all that is a fancy word for those people who have no idea of how Amazon takes what you search and finds what you want. So that's essentially all it is, and Google does the same thing. So the way I look at it is the shift in Google over the last 2 or 3 years has been really focused on answering the questions, not just giving back a item or a page that's just loaded with keywords. The old style of SEO was to load every single tag that you had possible with a keyword of what you were thinking was going to be on there. And that's great because computers weren't around that time weren't actually being able to read context of what was being said. So now what they're doing is they're being able to kind of pick up those contextual clues, and you'll find that if you search, say, dartboard, they'll have your dartboard pop up, but it's going to be stuff that is around kind of your search history as well. So it's pulling in all the information, pushing that out, and trying to make it as easy as possible to get you from search to sale.
And when people come on Amazon, they are buyers. They're not like going to Google. It's not like they're coming to Amazon to learn how this pressure washer machine works and whether it's good or not, or looking. They may be coming for reviews, but mainly they're looking. They probably already done that work on Google, but now they're coming to purchase. How is Google's search? I mean, how is Amazon's search and algorithm different as it relates to Google because of the fact that people are coming here to buy versus to research?
Yeah, so in my opinion on that, the difference is you have your, like you said, you have your qualified buyer. When they're hopping on there, they're not trying to decide if they want to get a power washer. They're trying to decide which one they're going to buy right then and there. So they're looking at the price, they're looking at the reviews, they're looking at the content that's on those on those pages, and there's different points that sell for different people. Some people may only be looking for somebody that's offering prime shipping. Their need is that time bit. There may be people who are looking and they are reading through the content on there and they see, okay, great, this one seems to fit the exact need or the problem that I have, and it's going to get the benefit from there. Some people may just buy the first one that are on there. So what Amazon's algorithm is really doing is it's trying to find the items that have the best content that are directed towards those exact searches, because the more people search through different items, the less likely they are to immediately buy. That kind of analysis by paralysis sets in. So as you're going through, they want them to buy as quick as they can so they can get them on to trying to buy some more. So they're trying to serve that most relevant content, but they're really focusing on those three things. And I notice in my search results compared to some of my coworker on the other side, we'll do it just for fun. Items for me, prime shipping is always the stuff that pops up along with items that have really good descriptions because I like to read a little bit about them. His are always the lowest price. So they're able to actually go through and find what kind of style of buyer that I am, and they will actually tailor my content and my searches to that. So it's a lot of user and back end, and also content that's on those listings. So I apologize if it's rambling on about that, but
no, that's interesting because what you're saying is Amazon's not monolithic on how they serve up the results that you're looking for. They are tailoring it. What you're saying is they're learning you. They're learning your what makes you tick, and then they're trying to serve up based on your past searches and maybe purchases. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so that's the way that if you ever notice, if you're on Facebook, you will have saw something on Amazon. You'll start seeing that on Facebook as well if you didn't buy it. It's
retargeting.
Their retargeting campaigns are phenomenal. They're dynamic, and it's just fascinating how they do that. But and I have a real good friend, John, that's in one of our groups. We do a lot of online arbitrage when we're finding different items, and he started getting items that were actually good finds for online arbitrage because other people like him were buying those items. So Amazon was targeting him with those, and he'd pop on and go, wait a second, I can make money off of this. And
wow.
So it's putting them in an audience segment that was built. So I know on the Facebook backend, because we run a lot with Facebook ads, you can actually build an audience segment, say, based around email addresses. But then a really cool feature is you can take that same audience segment and create a similar one with people who have the same likes and interests and buying styles like that and target ads directly to them. So there's this really intense backend, especially in Google search, Facebook, Twitter, some on LinkedIn, but even YouTube, that are in there to really kind of define you as an audience segment and get you the content that's going to turn you to a customer as quickly as possible.
Now, when you say you do Facebook, are you doing this for your clients? You're not advertising on Facebook to try to drive traffic to your Amazon listings, are you?
No, I am not, because a lot of my items Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're blanking out there. Start over there.
Okay, not a problem. I don't do any listings like that for my items because I do a lot of retail and online arbitrage. So they're pretty much listings that are already there, established, and I'm not looking to push it because a lot of my sales are based upon price. Some of my long tail items that are a longer investment that have really high sales rank or none at all, I will occasionally run those. But that's what I love about Amazon is that I know that I'm giving them a portion of my sales, but they're running these ads for me with my items when somebody stops on my page. So I'm not actively doing that, but I understand in the private label sense, there could be some real applications of targeting people specifically based upon online spending habits, demographic things, interest, life stages. I mean, I got married 2 years ago. You would think if you hopped on my Facebook line that I've had 4 kids and I need new life insurance. I mean, that's everywhere on my stuff. So you could go through and actually find, say you had a new, let's see, you were looking for dog lovers who like to online shop and they recently traveled because you know they're going to be looking for some sort of carrier for their dogs and they love to buy online. I could actually build an audience segment that was exactly to that group of people.
So, can you do me a favor and back up because you mentioned you do retail and you do online arbitrage. We do have a lot of probably beginners here that may not understand that terminology. Can you define what those are and how you do it?
Yeah, not a problem. The way I make money on Amazon and sell my products, I will go to a retail store just like Walmart, Walgreens, Target. I actually find items that are at a low price. I use my apps on my iPhone. I'll scan and see the profit margins I can make on those. I will purchase them. I will actually upload or send them into Amazon. They'll sell them and ship them via FBA, and I get my check back. In the world of online arbitrage, all that means is I'm doing the same exact thing, but I'm buying and selling, or I'm buying those things online, and they're getting shipped to my house. I'm packing them back up after I make sure they're there and shipping them off.
So, can you give us an idea of where you would go online to? Is there popular place, secret things you figured out to go and shop online?
Yeah, so a few different things that I always recommend. There's some great price tracking sites out there. Keepa.com, Keepa, great site that tracks the price history of all the products on Amazon as long as Amazon's giving them that information. Camel, which shows you the sales rank history along with some of the price history. Thetractor.com, which shows you some of price history and also drops in prices. I like to go to Price Zombie, which shows me price history on Amazon and other stores as well. And then Ben's Bargains is always a great one to go to. It'll show you like local stores or stores online, the deal, and it'll show the Amazon price below that. And then let's see, those are the big ones that I use. And then if you're in my groups, you see me post stuff all the time that are good places to start looking at items. But I do a lot of my sourcing. Sourcing basically just means buying and selling items, or buying items, sorry.
Finding them.
Yeah, finding them, grabbing them from a store or online. Most of my online purchases come from Amazon, Walmart, or other big chain retailers that are usually on sale or on clearance of some sort. Or I do have a few select items that are replenishables that I can buy time after time that make me money, and I'll just basically order as many as I can sell in a given period, ship those in, and then replace my order later on.
So are you saying you actually buy on Amazon and then turn around and sell on Amazon?
Oh yes, I do that all the time.
How does that happen? Can you give an example of how that might happen?
Yeah, see, I'm trying to think if I actually have anything in my garage right now that would be a great example of me pulling out. I don't think I do. But so what happens is Amazon's just like a retailer. So they're just like Walmart. They're just like Best Buy. They're just like Target. They have to move their inventory at some point. They can't just sit on the shelves all the time. They sometimes they need to get rid of it because it's discontinued and they can't get any more and they're switching to a new item. They may have overbought during a season, so they're liquidating it out to get their cash back so they can reinvest in more profitable inventory. But there's a lot of different reasons a price drop happens. So what I do is I use those tools that I mentioned to kind of go through and track when those deals happen, and I'll purchase them when they're low, get them shipped. I never use my Prime account. It's against the terms of service through Amazon, so never use Prime. Always use a separate non-Prime account. And get those shipped to my house. And then when I get them here, I prep them with my stickers and my labels, put them back in a box and send them back in. And then I wait for the price to increase or them to sell out, or at the time I may have bought out the stock, so the price would automatically jump up to the next highest seller. And I use the information on Camel with the sales ranks to assure myself that the sales rank is going to stay even though the price dropped. So that goes to my whole supply and demand background. So I know when there's a decrease in price, the demand is going to increase, so the sales rank will obviously go down. So you're going to have a lower sales rank because more people are going to buy it. So as long as I see on those charts that the sales rank was in a range that I would be comfortable with at the higher price, I know that when it goes back up to that higher price, I will still have the same selling power of the before the drop happened.
So now, have you ever had like these sellers that you've bought from get upset with you when they find out that you've relisted their products, or do they even know?
They have no idea. If they do, they never got in contact with me about it. And a lot of the time, it's actually Amazon that I'm buying from. It's not a lot of third-party sellers. It's usually Amazon itself doing that. So a great instance of it, of a speculation play that I did, was when Surge was coming out on Amazon. They were selling it non-prime for $14 a 12-pack, or $12. And I would buy it, and I would get like 5 packs at a time because that was your max. They'd get shipped to my door. And by the time I got them to my door, I had already sold them, and I sold them for $60 a case. So that inventory got sent on my doorstep. I repackaged it that same day, sent it out with the UPS guy the next day, and was able to triple my money.
So you were doing fulfilled by merchant on that stuff. So in other words, the advantage for you is that as soon as you buy it, you can list it, even though you don't have it in hand, knowing that it's going to be there in a couple, 2 or 3 days, and you've got a leg up on somebody that's going to send it in by FBA.
Sometimes it depends on the item. With the Surge, I did that because I was trying to turn it really quick because I figured a lot of resellers were buying it and going to ship it in FBA, so I was trying to turn it real quick. So I only listed once I got the shipping confirmation from Amazon, so I knew it was on the way, and I knew the estimated date, so I knew it could turn it around by the date that I had to ship on Amazon with. But the majority of the items, especially clothing, shoes, and toys, I will actually repackage and send in FBA to ease my process. I probably do about 99% FBA, 1% merchant fulfilled. But there's some items it depends on how quick I'm trying to flip them to if I use merchant fulfilled or the FBA services.
So is the reason you can get some of those higher prices is if you buy out Amazon stock, for example, or you happen to buy their last items of that stock and it's out of stock, the price shoots up and now you've kind of got a monopoly on it. Is that how that works?
That is one way it works. Other ways it happens is Amazon goes, oh crap, we can charge a higher price. We might as well hike this back up to where it was. So they hike it back up because they were moving too much inventory at that point. You would actually be amazed at the number of items that I've bought from Amazon, watched Amazon bump their price up to a new price point. I was able to sell under their price point and move it in a day or two and still make money even though they were still selling it. So I didn't even buy out their stock. They just shifted their price.
So, man, that sounds complicated. How do you keep track of the kind of things? I mean, I want to back up and ask another question before you answer that question is how do you find these products? I mean, there's, millions and millions of products. How do you source out a product that Amazon happens to be selling? You say, oh, how much research does it take to do that?
Well, that's the nice part about my job. I sit in front of a computer all day, so I have extra free time. But a lot of it was a big learning curve at the start. So those tools I mentioned give you leads. So they'll let you go they'll show you when the price drops and they'll go, hey, this item just dropped down. I'm looking at it right now on here. There's a peeling facial spray that went from price of $30.05 and now it's $8.74. So It's tracking this for me. And I know if I go on here that if I look at it, sales rank of 1,900. So I know it's going to sell pretty quickly, and I check the sales. I check some other things when I'm on here, such as consistency of sales rank, and make sure it's not a false drop. So it's not like just a price that was up there and then it dropped down. But you can actually go through and use these tools to get started. And then I use the information that I know of how Amazon works on the back end to go through and look at what other people viewed at that time. Because if somebody's buying this to sell it, they're probably using the same tactics I am, so I get some good information from that, and I can find other items using those tools. So customers always, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so those tools, can you set it to say, show me the biggest drop, the 10, does it have a 100 biggest or products that had the biggest price drop, or can you do those kind of parameters, or did you pick out this facial spray because you know something about it?
I use the parameters that are on there. Keepa organizes it by a percentage drop. I always
Okay.
look at the percentage drop because monetary, if it's $1,000 item and it drops 100, it's still not enough for me to turn it.
It's 10%, yeah.
So I use the percentage on there, and same with the others. I always go to the percentage or the relative drop, and I look through them that way. So I can literally hop on there and find anything. I have no restrictions on what I sell as long as the things line up on my checklist. And I go, okay, sales rank is where I want it to be, price is where I want it to be, returns where I want it to be. Then I'll pull the trigger and go ahead and buy it.
And so how much do you typically buy? Do you have, I know you probably started with less. Now that you've been doing it for a while, I imagine you can put more and more money back into your stock.
Yeah.
How do you determine how much money to tie up?
Well, what I do, I started out with $50 at a Walgreens, to be 100% honest with you. I bought 5 toys that were $10 a piece and ended up making like $60. But with the inventory wise of it, my rule is I actually have an agreement with my father-in-law that I use his credit card, and he gets a percentage of whatever I spend on it. So it's kind of like a loan of sorts, but it goes to a good cause, so I really don't care. But my limit is if it makes money, I go ahead and buy it. But I try to stick with about $2,000 in inventory in a given 2 or 3 day span, depending on how much time I have on the weekends to box it all up and ship it. So if I know I'm going to have a really big weekend where I can be at home, pack it up, I may spend $5,000-6,000 on items that week. But if I know I'm going to be gone and not be able to send it back in, I'll spend $1,000.
All right, Sean wants to know, what scanner app do you use? Do you have a preference? Do you use something other than what the Amazon provides, their basic scanning tool, right?
Yep, and I use Amazon Seller. You guys probably can't see it because it all got white. I have Scoutify because I have Inventory Labs. I only use Scoutify when my internet's really poor. I love Amazon Seller because it tells me if the item is hazmat. It tells me if there's a restriction on selling it new or used. It tells me if it's a restricted item, and it's just Amazon's app. So I trust it the best, and it's going to have the most up-to-date information in my head. But that's what I use.
Have you used the other scams and said, nah, I don't want to use them anymore?
I started off using Profit Bandit, and then it went to a paid service. And at the time, I was just starting, so it wasn't that I didn't like it. It just, at the point I wanted to go free, and Amazon Seller popped up. I was actually in a parking lot in the middle of Indianapolis trying to find an app because Profit Bandit wouldn't work for me, and I had made a day trip to go sourcing. So I was sitting there trying to download something, and Amazon Seller worked. I was like, oh, this is great. This is what I'm going to use. But I use Scoutify, and I haven't tried any others other than that. I just like Amazon Seller, and it makes me money. So I imagine there's some other options out there. I just haven't used them.
So you guys can go to the Play Store on Droid or go to the App Store on Apple and get that app, download it for free. And you mentioned hazmat. So basically, you're referring to any item that has any kind of chemical that
this one.
Amazon would say, oh,
so
what is that?
Well, this always surprises me. This is Primetime Smile. It is a tooth cleaning whitening, and I can't figure out why it is hazmat if I'm going to put it in my mouth, which really confuses me. But this is a hazmat, so I can't send it in. So I sell these merchant fulfilled when I get around to it. I actually have a pile over here, like Nexus hair stuff. No idea what that does. Don't really care. Have hair drugs. So if you're losing your hair, which I probably will in a few years, I got some laying around. But yeah, my hazmat stuff goes on my workbench, and when I get around to it, I list it. I don't think any of that stuff's listed yet. I've got to get around to doing that. But I'll list it, and then when it sells, I'll ship it via all the regulations and stuff.
And when you say list it, and keep in mind, guys, we're talking about retail arbitrage here, online arbitrage, and most of you guys are interested in private label, but the mechanism to selling a product online with Amazon is the same. So a lot of these issues, like listing, when you list your product, you're not having to typically create a new listing. You're just basically You're just basically joining a listing that's already been put out there. Is that true?
About 90% of the time, that is true.
What's the 10%? What happens there?
When I find an item that has a different model or different color or different variation, and I've already
nobody's
sold,
put that on there.
Exactly. I'll create those listings for those items and put them as a new listing on there so that I can sell those and have basically no competition because it's never been sold before on Amazon.
Or have you considered doing what Helen Edwards suggested, which is going on the same listing and it's just creating a variation when you're the only one that has the variation on a listing that somebody has, sales and ranking?
I have done that with some items, especially when I'm doing multi-packs. So if I've bought 5 of them and I want to do a 5 multi-pack on an item, I will go in and create a variation through that. It just depends. Some things that I've had, there was some exercise equipment where there was one style of it that was like a 5-pound version. Then there was a 7.5-pound that was a whole different UPC code. Really wasn't a variation. It kind of was a little different type of workout equipment, but I knew the one sold, so I created a brand new listing for that one. So it just depends on how it's set up in the system, what I'm looking at, and kind of, I always like to piggyback if possible, but there's some times where it just doesn't work.
All right. Sean also asked, do you sell groceries?
I sell everything but watches. So.
Oh, really? So you sell shoes and clothes? Yep. So did you have to get ungated in all those different categories?
Yes, I did. And I had somebody help me with luggage and shoes just because I was running short on time. And we actually did a trade out for advertisement on my Facebook group because I have some large Facebook groups there. So, but the other stuff I did myself just to get ungated. I was grandfathered in with health and beauty and grocery because I had sold before the switch over to the gated categories. But I've sold everything I've sold literally everything from mayonnaise to a block of Velveeta. So you'd be surprised at the things you can sell.
And again, are you buying any of the groceries online, or is this more shopping in person at your groceries?
I actually buy a lot of groceries through Walmart online.
Does Walmart have temporary price cuts to move their inventory? Is that what happens?
Not so often. I find a lot of my replenishable items there that I just have enough margin that I may be making 60%, and I just want to have that constant stream of a 60% return on each item. So I'll buy those in the amount they'll sell in a given week or month, and just kind of have a repeat order that I put in that gets shipped to my door.
By the way, guys, this platform, supposedly I can click on this item right here, and I'm supposedly broadcasting what Jeff is. So can anybody see Chris Cat has joined us? Is that across the screen? Are you guys seeing that? If you are, just reply in the chat box. I just wanted to find that out. I'm supposed to be able to, when somebody asks a question, maybe put it up on the screen. We can't see it. They're supposed to be able to see it. Huh. All right. Does Chris purchase items wholesale? Oh, by the way, what kind of beer are you drinking? Somebody's asking.
KCCO Black Lager. It's a collaboration between Resignation Brewery and Red Hook. It was on sale at Jungle Gyms for $2 a 6-pack, and it's wonderful. So,
oh wow,
I find deals even on beer.
I don't guess Amazon sells beer, do they?
They sell wine in certain states.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so the question goes back to does Chris purchase anything wholesale?
I have done liquidation. I have not done, I guess you could count one product that I've done wholesale, but no other products.
Okay. Gustavo Marty asked, how often do you ship items to Amazon? I saw a picture of your dad posted with more than 10 big boxes. How many items do you have on Amazon?
Okay, so that picture, and that was actually my father-in-law that was standing with the boxes. He helps me pack. Last weekend, I shipped off 23 boxes to Amazon with a total of, I think, 500 items in them. And I think my estimated profit was like 8,000 on that shipment. So that I try to ship out once a week, unless I have items that I really want to send in very quickly. I just don't have the time when I get home. I kind of like to sit around and watch a little TV and go to sleep. So I just can't do it as often as I did when I wasn't fully employed during the start of when I started. But right now I have 2,800 items on Amazon, I believe. So
like in the FBA right now?
Yes, in the warehouse right now.
Holy cow. So what's your velocity of sales on 2,800? What kind of turnover do you figure you have?
So,
how many items in a typical week might sell out of that 2,800?
Out of that, let me just look it up here real quick. I've got my sales for this week based. I could just do my month real quick. Units.
By the way, everybody said they could see that thing across the screen. I might have to start using that, but
my typical velocity within a month, out of those 2,500 items, I will sell about 1,500 of them through this month, and I'll have about 1,000 that are typically longer term, or I went deep and have a lot of that type of item in there. So I'll turn about 1,000 to 1,500 items a month.
So how where was I going to go with that question? All right, I'll go back to a different question. But
oh, that's fine.
So you do quite a bit in sales. Here's a question I have. I'm gonna start turning to a prosecuting attorney. How come you're not doing private label?
Honestly, the
You're
reason
guilty.
I will say anyone who does private label gets my full respect on all of it. I just don't feel like I have the time right away with everything that I'm doing. I'm in the process of writing a book. I run 2 Facebook groups, full-time job, just redid a house and shipping all this stuff in. So I just really don't have the time, and I want to be able to learn and to know all I can about it before I hop in, because I know there's a lot of different roadblocks along the way that I want to make sure I don't mess up on, and make sure I do it the right way the first time instead of kind of troubleshooting along the way. So it's a time issue on my end. But I really do think there's good money to be made there. I'm just finding different items in my type of business model that work for me.
Sean's asking, what is your typical average ROI, return on investment?
It's about 60% on or on average on items. I like to be up around the 100% mark, but 60% is typical.
What's the worst you've ever been burned? What's something where you really made a mistake?
Oh, there's this box over here that's still haunting me. It's these dry shampoos. When I bought them, I got them from a liquidation warehouse here in near where I'm from, and there's a reason they're at the liquidation warehouse. Some of the cans were defective, so I actually didn't realize they were hazmat at the time. That's when I was using Price Blink instead of Amazon Seller, and didn't fully understand everything. So I bought 2,000 of them, and 1 out of every 6 were defective. So we had to hand pack every single one of those and ship those out. And then I would get returns, and it was kind of a disaster. So that would
What is it?
A dry shampoo. So it's an aerosol container full of shampoo that you can wash your hair without getting wet.
Okay, so would you say it's defective? It just wouldn't come out?
No, the cans would actually lose all of the contents on the trip to the person. So they would leak. So they would get this box that was wet on the inside, and the can did not work.
Okay. Chris, do you purchase your shoes and clothes on Amazon only, or do you source from like Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Target, etc. locally?
Currently, everything I buy, clothing and shoes, is through Amazon for a flip on there.
Wow, you all of a sudden got really loud. I don't know why.
I apologize for that.
Maybe I was closer to the screen. Do you label your products or let Amazon label? Also, do you just ship to one fulfillment center?
So all of my items, I got my Dymo sitting here. When I started,
What's a Dymo?
My Dymo is my label printer. I apologize. I should be more specific on things like that. But I have my label printer here, so I label the majority of the items myself. If I have a large shipment and I'm just out of time, sometimes I'll have Amazon handle it. That is very few and far between.
What do they charge?
I believe 30 cents a label, 20, 30 cents a label.
Yeah, okay.
So
it's not a deal breaker.
No, if your margins are high enough, you can kind of eat that up in the cost. And that's what I was doing when I first started and I didn't have my printer around. I would actually just have them do it until I made enough to buy myself a printer. So got there. And then I use inventory placement to get all my items shipped to one warehouse because I add that cost into my Amazon seller app of my per pound shipping. So it's already accounted for. And then I don't have to pack boxes up that are shipped to like California. All of my boxes go to Hebron, Kentucky, and they get there in less than 24 hours. So I really like shipping down that way.
Do you have to, do you have to use the, what's the term where you say, I want it placed at a particular?
The inventory placement, I do use that unless I'm shipping an item. Like I have one item that was kind of wholesale-ish and then they're case packed. So when I do case packed, it automatically ships it to one. It does that for you.
What's a case pack?
Case pack is when you are getting when you're sending in a box to Amazon that came to you from the manufacturer. So if, say, I had a big box of Scotty peelers or things that help me get off labels, and these were all in one little box or one big box from the supplier, I could send it in after I labeled them all and say, I'm shipping in a case of 96 of these, and it'll automatically process that as a case pack shipment once you click the little button that says case packed, and it won't charge you to ship it to one location, and it won't make you split those up.
So do you, when you label something like that, are they loose in the box or you put them in a poly bag or what?
The items that I have, I don't sell Scotty peelers, but the items that I have, I put in poly bags with a label on the outside of them.
Okay, and do you have to seal the poly? How are the poly bags sealed, heat sealed? I mean, how does that work?
I'm the lazy guy. I use the self seal poly bags that have the little strip that I pull. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. They're right here. Yeah, I have the self pull ones that just
Oh,
pull,
okay. Yeah.
and I throw my item in there, seal it, so I don't have to mess with heat sealing it. Just because I don't care if it looks super great as long as it's protected and where it's supposed to be.
So folks that are doing private label, and let's say they're sourcing their product from China, they're probably going to get it shipped to their house so they can inspect it. And so in that case, they may want to do this individual packaging themselves with a poly bag and a labeler and do that kind of thing a couple of times, unless they can get their manufacturer to eventually do that. But it probably wouldn't hurt to learn that, because I'm sure you learn some things about quality control. I mean, one of the questions that someone just asked, I think it was Chris said, I mean, Matthew says, Chris, with all that inventory, how often do items get, warehouse damaged or damaged in the warehouse?
Warehouse damage happens probably out of every 100 items, between 5 and 10 of them are warehouse damaged. So Amazon's probably one of my best customers most of the time, because they'll reimburse me for those. Distributor damage wise, I'll get maybe 1 or 2 a shipment. So if I had those 22 boxes, I may have 1 or 2 items that got damaged during the shipping process there. The biggest issue I run into is Amazon seems to lose my items on check-in all the time. It does not surprise me if I have 5 items per box. Sometimes maybe it's 1 or 2 that they just can't find. I'm just like,
they've got a thief in Hebron, Kentucky then.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm trying to help them do it because I can tell you what he lost. But yeah, they just can't seem to count. And then sometimes they'll give me extra of an item that I'm like, hey, I didn't ship 5. I shipped 2 of those in. How come I have 10? So I always have to say, hey, what's going on, guys?
And that could get you crossways, because if that third sale comes in and you don't have it, what happens then?
See, when I first started, didn't realize the whole co-mingled and non-co-mingled thing. So co-mingled means Amazon will just take your item, throw it in a big bin, and it'll pull whatever item it wants out of there and ship it when your price is sold on there. Non-co-mingled means you label every single item that you have, and that is your item. So if you have 3, they got to get that one and ship it. So all of my non-health beauty, anything that requires me to label it, is labeled, but all my other stuff is commingled. So that stuff just gets thrown in a bat, so they have no idea if it's mine or not. So if they pull one out, if they have it in there, they have it in there. So I do run into that occasionally, but usually it's never on health and beauty. It's always on the commingled items.
And Ali asked, when Chris buys from Amazon with the non-Prime account, is he still receiving free shipping from Amazon? I guess that depends on how much you spend, right?
Always spend over $35 and it's free shipped to you.
Right. Does Chris's employer know he's an FBA rock star outside his 9 to 5?
Yes, they do, and the people at work love when I get damaged item back because they become presents for them because I have no use for them.
Now, that's a good question. Do you get damaged items back? There's your cat up in the back. I see your cat now. Do you get damaged items back, or does it make sense to do that, or is there a way for you? Can you sell them on Amazon? I mean, on eBay or something, or
Sometimes I get an item and you just look at it. Like I had a doll come back to me the other day. I don't know if they were practicing to be a surgeon, but her leg was detached. So I have no idea what they did to this poor doll. Got it back, and I got actually a refund from Amazon, and they sent me the item back too, which I was very surprised about. So I had no use of sending that back in. There was no way I was going to fix that. A lot of the stuff I get back is some sort of packaging that has been damaged. So if it's still salvageable, I'll sell it as like new. Packaging is damaged, or I'll sell it on eBay. But a lot of the items I get back and don't send back into FBA and go, okay, well, this is fine. I just need a new poly bag on it.
I was going to say, if it has packaging, is it exterior packaging where you can just take it out of the box, put it in a poly bag, and still sell it as new?
Sometimes I do that. It really depends on the what has happened to that item. It's really a case-by-case basis. So I have a box full of items that are damaged, and a lot of them are package flaws. Some of them, they have like lost a part. So I sent a 2-pack in, and I have one. So I have to go buy another piece to fulfill that, put it
That's
into
that same guy, brother. That same guy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's got a closet full of very good finds, and if he would start selling on FBA, he'd make some money.
Well, I actually live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and we have almost a brand new warehouse that was built here maybe 2 years ago. And one weekend or one night, they had a couple of 18-wheelers broken into that was parked out back, and they made a haul of about 2,500 iPhones or something. It was something expensive. So it can happen.
Wow.
And you would wonder why they would leave valuable inventory. I bet they probably changed their policy since then.
Yeah, somebody got fired.
Okay, Chris, is it safe to purchase your bolos? And if you'll explain what a bolo is, that you post, or is it best practice? Is it best to practice the rabbit trail to secure your investment?
Yeah, so let me explain all of that mumbo jumbo that was just said there.
That's good.
Yeah, so anybody that doesn't know, I have 2 free groups. Everything I do is free. The only thing I ever make money off of is the affiliate links. So if you want to join FBA Master Group, feel free to do it. What they do on there, the bolos are be on the lookout for. These are items that I found that seem to be a good deal for a online flip. So you hop onto the group, you'll see me post a link and say 4 left at this price. And you can hop on there and actually see that the charts kind of line up. And they're usually, once I've spent my limit for the day that I've set for myself, they're items that are great finds, but I just don't have the funds to buy everything. So I'll post these and share them with the group. What also is being said there is rabbit holes, or rabbit trails. And what that is what I was kind of talking about when I said the customers always bought, or people who have viewed this also viewed. They're kind of the trails you can follow to find other items that would be good for resale. So those are what those terms are. Best practice in the group would be, if you think you can buy out the stock of a certain item on there, go for it. I would personally go to those little rabbit trails that are there and find other items, because there are 2,000 people who are seeing that item posted, and a lot of people won't take those extra steps. So I would highly recommend taking those extra steps, and you will be rewarded in the long run for that.
So I'm on a page and I can look at this item and think, I could resell this, but it says at the bottom here, customers who bought that also bought this. So I click on it and go look at that listing, and then I evaluate it, and then it may have another one. Well, items that people bought this, bought that, and you just keep following those maybe until you find something you want, or come back up for air and start over.
Yeah, so I go until I run out, and then if you were in the group the other day, you saw a long string of shoes. I got started on 1 pair of shoes, and then I kept finding shoes left and right that for some reason Amazon was clearancing out 1 size. And it was
I
usually,
started getting tons of notifications.
yeah, I apologize. Turn those off. If you don't want them, turn them off. But yeah, so I found a bunch of shoes. If you're a shoe seller, honestly, and I track how many people click through the links. I know not a lot of people in my group are approved in shoes. So, I mean, you can go through there and probably pick up a lot of those without any competition. But if you were to take the extra time and look at the also bought, you may have found a heck of a lot more shoes as well. So it really depends on what you're comfortable with. You'll be surprised on the back end, since I use the affiliate system, how few of people actually buy the items that I post. So it's always kind of fascinating when I get to see that.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think they get kind of scared. They wonder, okay, well, 2,000 people are seeing this. What if I'm not the only one that's buying it? Will that price tank? What'll happen here? So they kind of
Has
have
that ever happened to you?
There are a few items that have. And when I start seeing a price tank, those are the times where as soon as I get the shipping confirmation, I put a merchant fulfilled order up, and I try to get those things out of my hands as soon as possible. Or I do the reverse and hold it for a good period of time until all those
wait for it to
sold and wait. So when I start seeing those drops, if you ever worry about that kind of stuff, you either hold or you sell quick, because in the interim between those, the price will slowly go down. But with that invisible hand, econ, it'll always go back to equilibrium at the price it should be. So if you just wait it out, it'll work.
That's probably why you got 2,800 items in stock. You know what I thought BOLO meant? I thought it meant buy one, leave one, in reference to if you buy this item at a low cost at a coupon or whatever, then you leave a review. That's what I thought it meant.
And it could in other circles, and I think it's just in that online sourcing circle where that's used as that. So that you could be completely correct, and I could be the one who's a lunatic. But in the circle or the groups I run, that's what it stands for.
Say that again. What did you say?
I said I could be the lunatic. You could be the smart one.
What did you say it stands for, though?
Be on the lookout for.
Okay.
So it should be BOLO, but BOLO sounds better.
Maureen wants to know, where do you buy your self-sealed bags?
Off of Amazon.
Okay. And do they have safety verbiage on the bags, or do you have to put that on there?
Nope, they come with safety verbiage on the bags per Amazon regulations.
And so, Chris, what is your return rate? Everyone knows Amazon hammers us sellers on return. What do you do with your customer damage returns? I think you've addressed that part.
I give them away, or I repackage them and sell them in other avenues depending on the item. My return rate is probably about 1% to 2% on everything that I send in. So it's really low. I don't have a ton. But sometimes you get nice little like iHome speakers for your garage when the packaging is damaged. And you go, this looks like it's a good find for me. So sometimes I keep them.
Okay. Angela, it looks like she has her questions. I piggybacked on items already listed on Amazon before. Then I go back and click on the product, and I actually have to search for it because other sellers come up first. Any suggestions?
Ooh, that's a tough one there. If it's a variation, it depends on which one's the popular one that's going to pop up first there. As for the other stuff, I would highly recommend optimizing. So making sure that your content is on there, you have your keywords in the right spot, you have good photos, you get a few reviews on the item there. But if you're piggybacking on them, usually what you'll find in order to get that buy box, it's based in a mix of seller ratings. So your reviews plus your shipping metrics on the Amazon backend and kind of your performance there, and then price. So just because you are the lowest price doesn't mean you'll always get the buy box. It just is kind of a little algorithm or formula they have that picks those there, and they rotate them. So just because you're not there, you may be there a little bit later on. So just try to figure out the source and the reason it's doing that, and then take action to fix that.
Okay, and Matthew says, do you write the damage items off as a tax deduction?
I try to, but I'll be 100% honest. Sometimes I'm just not very good at doing that. It's not usually a ton, so I don't worry about it. But if it's a really pricey item that's been damaged, I will write it off. Some of the smaller ones, I just kind of, price of doing business and learning a little bit. Probably should do a better job on that, but that's just the honest truth.
Okay, let's go back to private label. How does any of this help somebody that might I mean, here's what we've got. We've got usually when I do polls, and I figured out that anytime I do a poll, about half of the people are brand spanking new, or they've been around for a month or two or three. They're searching for private label products. They're learning, but they don't have anything. They hadn't sold anything yet. And then the other half are selling something. So a lot of people may be getting, I'm not certain, but there may be people here frustrated saying, well, I thought this was a private label group and you're talking about retail arbitrage. How does this help a private label seller, the stuff that you do?
So what you, as a private label seller, there's a few things that you can learn from me talking, I guess, or just kind of at the whole process. The way I always like to look at it is if you know how the game works, you learn all the rules of the game, you can learn how to play the game to the best ability. So that's why I would always recommend people who are getting started to at least have a working knowledge of how retail and online arbitrage works, because you'll find that it kind of translates slowly over into the private label world. You're not going to go buy 1,000 of something from a manufacturer at your local Walmart. That's not what private label is. So that part doesn't apply. But the whole bit of research, so when I'm doing research on the fly on my phone and looking for an item, I'm doing the same research people should be doing to find an item that they're going to sell online. So the methods are very similar, but I'm just doing it for a lot of smaller quantities of items, and I'm trying to sell them very quickly. So when I'm looking at the charts online that are used for online arbitrage, I'm sorry, my cat's trying to get into a bucket. So if you hear some noise, I don't know what he's doing.
That's a good place for cats, is in a bucket with a lid on it.
No, I love my cats. Carl is a scaredy cat, but
I love cats too, just dead ones. So I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Carl, he didn't mean that. It's okay. But so like when I'm doing the research online to find items to sell, those charts that I'm looking at are tremendous tools for private label sellers, because you're going to be able to see the trends in price in your given product line. You're going to be able to see the trends in demand in your given product line. And essentially, you're getting all this information that an economist would die for when they're trying to put a supply and demand chart together. I mean, if you get to see the demand, and demand is measured by the sales rank, and you get to see the supply, which is measured by the price, and the number of sellers, you're going to be able to see kind of where that equilibrium price is going to fall. I always like to look at it where those two lines cross, and that information is invaluable when you're searching for your own item to start selling. So you want an item that's going to be moving pretty consistently. You're looking for something that has a really steady sales rank over a long period of time, which Camel could be a perfect tool if you can find a similar product that is in that same product line, but you're trying to not compete against, but you're going to do a better version of it. When you're doing some searching online, you may be also able to look through the eyes of the seller or the buyer and go through listings that are on there and find issues that people have with the given product and figure out how to solve those issues.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of different things that me going through and looking at a bunch of listings and knowing the back end of how the data is there is really valuable to someone who's on the private label side. So I hope that's what you were kind of asking, but I think there's a lot of stuff that kind of transitions over, even though we're talking about me buying toys from the Walmart, but there's a lot of stuff there.
Well, here's my personal philosophy. I kind of agree with Telex Tree. That's a really strange name there, brother. Telex Tree says, RA makes me nauseous.
Hey, and that's completely fine.
And I understand what he's saying, because for a lot of people that are wanting to get in private label, it looks like a J.O.B. It looks like I got to keep working and doing the same thing. I got to keep sourcing, packaging, taking labels off and relabeling, etc. Whereas if you could get a private label product going, you can just keep ordering, reordering, send it in, and watch the inventory, and maybe keep track with your reviews and answering questions. However, I believe that if you're brand new right now and you haven't sold anything on Amazon, and you wait till you get your first 200 or 300 items from China in, and that's when you start figuring out how to list something and how to go into Seller Central, you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot.
It's probably a low risk investment on the retail arbitrage side. And once you get into private label, I haven't done it, so I'm just going to speculate here. I imagine you're sitting there going, well, it would make me sick, just like you said. So I can understand that completely, because it is frustrating when you go into a store and can't find anything. And if I have to cut my hand one more time by accident when I'm removing labels from a box, I'll probably go insane. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that there is to dislike about this, and I can understand the whole private label side. But I also, like I said earlier, I need to fully understand it to a point I feel comfortable. And
Well,
even
you've got responsibilities and a mortgage and a job and kids, et cetera. So it's not like you can just spend a whole lot of time. There's a transition that you'd have to make.
yeah, but I think the skills I've learned selling via online and retail arbitrage would make it pretty much a no-brainer. I just have to learn the side of how to find the items to sell. And other than that,
Right.
I think I can handle the majority of it. So I think it's taught me a lot. So anybody that's new, it's really great. And then my digital marketing side of things with the optimization of listings and kind of the advertising bit of it, and knowing how Amazon's working to kind of try to transition to that easy sale makes it so that I got the best of both worlds. And there will be a time when I do private label, and I think I'll be a rock star at it. But it's just not that time right now.
Well, Matthew says, while searching Amazon database for bolos, have you ever found any private label items?
I actually have one that's sitting in my garage right now that if I was ever going to do a private label, I know exactly what I would do. So it is hands down. I even know the product lines and the type of stuff I would do. I just haven't got to getting around to doing that yet. So yes, I have. And that is actually where I've come up with this entire idea of what I would private label. I'm just not to that point yet.
All right, we're going to change subject right now and go back to what I guess probably led to this question, was asking about, do you deduct damaged items? What about bookkeeping? What do you do to track your sales, income, and outcome, and how is it difficult at the end of the year? You know, what about sales tax? That's a real controversial subject out there with Nexus and all that other stuff.
Oh, yes, it is. So first year doing it, I was kind of going by the seat of my pants through it. I learned a lot in that time. Now I completely, here's my system now. I use Inventory Labs to track all cost of goods, sales, everything. Inventory Labs is an inventory management system built for the Amazon seller, one I personally love because it's the one I started using first. I know there's some other out there, but that's what I use. So that manages all of that. I use Shoebox, which sends me these magical envelopes where I shove all my receipts into it, seal it, and put it in the mailbox, and they disappear. And then they process it for me, and then I categorize it, and I import it into my Inventory Labs via a Excel document that's been exported. So I keep track of stuff that way as well. So I always have those records.
How much does Inventory Lab cost?
$50 a month.
Okay, and then how much is this service that you send your receipts to?
Shoebox, you can actually use the phone version up to 20 receipts a month for free. And then I use the paid version that has envelopes that's $20 a month. So it's just an ease factor because I got tired of taking pictures of my own receipts.
Okay, so there are apps out there that you can just take a picture of your receipt and then it scans it to an Excel file and puts it in the right category and populates the information. And I don't know, I haven't really looked at them closely, but the only one I ever saw was about $100 a year.
So if you personal preference, if you were going to start off and wanted a free service to keep track of your accounting, Wave Apps, WAVEAPPS.com. It was the accounting system I was using when I first started because it was what my digital marketing company was doing. So I just kind of transitioned it over. They have a free app that lets you take pictures. It'll allow you to organize everything, keep a picture of your receipt on there. And it's a great tool for those just getting started and don't want to invest into Inventory Labs or Shoebox. You can get by with that one for free. So that would be the one I would recommend. But then when you kind of want to not automate it a bit, but kind of get a little more hands-off of tracking and processing, then I would suggest bumping up to Inventory Labs and the Shoebox type of method. But there are free ways, and Wave Apps was the one I used at that point to get through.
Teresa says she hopes that this private label product that you know for sure you're going to sell, she says she hopes it's not a silicone barbecue glove.
It is not, so you're good.
For those of you who don't know, that inside joke is one of the guys that teaches a class. You actually did a webinar, and he actually went on to the Amazon and started looking at barbecue gloves, and he basically said, "Oh wow, these are actually a pretty good find. This could actually be a good product." And now everybody and their mother is selling silicone barbecue gloves, with pages and pages and pages. Now Telex Tree, how did you get your name, Telex Tree?
Call you T.
TT. All right, you kind of, since you're an economist, you can maybe decipher this. The price inflation trends for over-the-top savings sales pitch will corrupt the price variation data reliability. What the heck? This The price inflation trends for over-the-top savings sales pitch will corrupt the price variation data reliability. I don't know.
Okay, so I think if I'm going to decipher that, here's what he's saying. So when you see a product drop in price, say something goes from $20 to $4, sales rank is going to correspond and go down with that as well. So if you were just looking at that rank on the page when you were sourcing online, you're going to see that that sales rank is always going to be better on there because the price is lower. People are going to buy more and the price is lower. So that's why I go back to the historical data through Camel, and actually
trend data, not just snapshot in a day.
In the trend over as long as they've been tracking it to see if the stability is there. So yes, the price deflation that happens will bring that sales rank down because the demand will increase. But I look for that long-term trend to make sure that it stays at a point where I feel comfortable it will sell at.
Telex also asked, what about tax jar versus inventory lab?
I use tax jar for my sales tax, but I know we were talking about, I was getting to sales tax, and then we kind of jumped off of that. But I use tax jar to kind of tell me how much I owe places. And I have a guy named Jeremiah who's actually in my groups who manages and sends out my sales tax for me, so I don't have to worry about it. I currently...
I've seen a webinar. You did a webinar together, didn't you?
Yeah, I have about half a webinar up on my YouTube page. It cut out.
Or maybe it's just a YouTube interview or something. I watched it.
Yeah, he's extremely intelligent, and he actually monitors all of my taxes right now on the sales tax side of things. And he registered me, and I think I'm registered in 11 different states right now. He keeps track of them for me. I just scan my items in when I get them and say, "Hey, Jeremiah, here's my stuff. What I need to do." But the way we determined a nexus in those, and this is the way we've decided it, I will lead out with saying, talk with your sales tax person and your accountant, find out what works for you. But the way we did it is I have a $300 liability cap, and once I cross that of liability that I owe to a state, I will register in that state and pay my taxes. So that's how I do it. That's how I decide where I have a nexus and where I don't.
I've already 300. I thought a lot of times that, until you have $600 in income, you don't even get 1099. So why did you set it so low?
We set it low because what we were essentially doing was we were finding the point at where I felt comfortable enough that once I got to that point that it was going to continue to rise. And I was at a point where last year I did about $200,000 worth of sales, and I'm hoping to get to about $600,000 this year. So wow. I thought as soon as I crossed that $300 mark, I might as well go ahead and get it done with. When I started, I wanted to go ahead and register in all the states just so I didn't have somebody knocking on my door telling me I owed them money. And Jeremiah said, well, here's how I would recommend doing it. And we set 300 at that price of liability. But I mean, I had crossed that for the majority of the states. There's just a few, like I want to say Nevada and a few others that I just don't sell a lot to. So we weren't in any hurry. And then I also pay him per state he files in for me. So basically says, don't pay me until you have enough liability that we would consider it would cost you more not to be compliant than it would compliant. So that's how we decided it. But like I said, talk with your guy that you're doing it with and your accountant and find that number for you. The $600 mark would make a little bit more sense. But at the point I was at, I was more on the cautious side. So I chose the $300 mark.
Ross says, I have started to enhance listings with new pictures and content that only show when my listing has the buy box. I have seen no good returns. How about you? And I'm not even sure. Can you do that? Can you change the listings on an item if you're sharing the listing with somebody else?
So here is a very fascinating thing that I found out with a conversation with Amazon, because we were actually going to do some listing optimization for one of my clients at my work. So they sell an industrial product, and we were going to go in, and since I knew Amazon, they said, hey, Chris, can you do this for us? So they had asked us to get a quote together. So I had to call Amazon and find out if you could change a listing that was already existing. So the way that works is if you are the brand owner and you created that listing on there, you own the rights. Any change you make will automatically go through and it'll be on there. So a private label product hops on, and you're the person that put that on there, and you say you're a registered brand on Amazon. For instance, this is a manufacturer that is a registered brand. It went through their system. This is the end we were looking at it on. Any change they made would automatically rank above everyone else's changes as long as it met Amazon guidelines. So they have the ultimate kind of final say because it's their product. When it comes to changing the listings that are currently existing, I'll get like notifications that say my listing, there's some possible errors in the listing, please go fix it. So I can go in and change that. My changes hold the same weight as any other seller that is in there. So if I make a change and then someone else goes in and makes a change, they can be changed right back and forth.
So it's like a wiki.
Kind of, yes, exactly. So in sorts, yes. But what they tend to do is if the information, they really want to improve it, and they have people who inspect any changes that come through. So if it's not improving the listing, so their pictures, if they're better pictures, they should be put up there. And I'm very surprised that Amazon has not removed those other photos from it. So that would be something I would contact them about, because in the way that I understood my conversation with them, if it improves the listing and nobody else comes back and says, hey, this isn't right, the people will go ahead and improve that listing for the betterment of the customers who are searching for it.
So everybody's sharing the listing or the additions or variations that you make to it that improve it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you've been doing this for what? How many years?
A year and a month.
When you first got started, can you recall how your first couple of weeks or month or 2 months look like? Because it's got to be a lot different than it is today, and I think a lot of people can't really identify with 2,600 items listed. Maybe they can identify with how you got started.
Oh yeah, completely. To be 100% honest, my initial thing, and this is how I got started. My dad sent me Pat Flynn's Jessica LaRue podcast, episode 99, Smart Passive Income. Said, hey, Chris, think this may be cool. You may want to listen to it. Okay, sure. I listened to it and went, no way in heck is this going to work. This sounds too good to be, no, this ain't going to work. So I actually went to the interview for the position I'm at now, and I stopped by a Walgreens and I scanned some items because I had Profit Bandit after that podcast. I just said, okay, well, you know what? I'll give it a try. So I stopped and grabbed 5 little pet shop toys that were buy 2, get 1 free. They didn't have a 6th, though I got them. They were like $6.95 each. And I got one.
And were you checking on Amazon to see if these things were selling, or were you just looking at something and said, oh, that's cheap, I'll buy it?
I used the Profit Bandit to do it.
You did do that, okay.
I was making up what a good sales rank was and said, oh, this sounds great. I got lucky. So shipped those in a box. I didn't make much. I think I made $20, but then I started going, well, if I just spent $50 and made $20, wait a second, that's a 40% return.
Not too hateful.
You can't do that in like 5 years in the stock market. So I'm like, well, if I just keep doing that, this may work. So then I would ramp up to like 10 items the next time. And then all of a sudden the 10 items sold, and you're like, wait a second here. This is actually kind of working. So then from the 10 items, I would take any money that I made and reinvest it. So I would wait for my next paycheck to come through from Amazon, and then I would go and I'd buy 20 items. And then the next time I'd buy 40, and I just kind of roll it in a big snowball effect, kind of gathering it up. And then now it's like, I look at the numbers. If the numbers work, I buy, no hesitation. But at first, I was very hesitant over everything until I proved my system worked. Once I proved my system worked, I trust the system now.
So did you develop your system based on your experience, or were there other people out there giving you some pointers saying, hey, never buy something unless you get this rate of return, or don't do this if this happens? How did you come up with the metrics that you use?
Yeah, so it's half of his experience. 4th of it is my dad. So my dad's the one that he does this full time, and he's not on this podcast. He's not on this webinar right now. and he won't hear me say this because he won't take the time to listen to this because he says he can come over to my house, drink my beer, and talk to me anytime.
Is that Jason? Jason?
Yeah. Jason's my dad.
Okay, I thought it was your brother.
Everyone thinks that Jason's my dad, and I will not admit this to him any other way. He's way smarter at this than I am. I give him full credit. He reads more and studies more about stuff than anyone else I've met. And the thing is he kind of lacks sometimes that trigger to go do it. So what I would do is I'd listen to what he'd tell me to do, and I'd go do it, and it would work. So the fourth of that was that, and then the other fourth was in the groups I was in. I kind of started picking up the metrics that I was using. But my dad had actually a lot to do with my starting out and kind of the metrics I put down there. And then I was experimenting so much at a different level than what he was that now we kind of share different tactics and metrics that we've seen work, because I kind of was the wild loose cannon that would go buy something that may have a $4,000 or 400,000 sales rank, but have a 500% return, and I might sell it in a day or two. And I'll go, well, did you realize that if I drop the price by this, it did that? And we kind of learn from each other on those.
Have you considered commissioning your dad to do the work to get your private label thing going?
He actually knows my style of what I would be getting into, and he's actually sold items in that same genre of things. So if he's going to do anything, he would probably be the one that would learn more about it first and then kind of guide me through it. And then what would happen is once I kind of got through it, I'd help him get through it, and then we'd both be doing it at some portion. So that has
possibly even partner.
Yeah, and that's stuff that we're really close in that fact, and we have the same kind of mentality on a lot of things. So it'll probably happen. It's just they just sold their house and they're working on a whole, which is life happens.
Right.
It gets busy.
A lot of life happening over here. If you guys have any want to do some more research, I interviewed Nancy Ramirez. She has been traveling to China for the last 7 or 8 years, sourcing products for Target and Walmart and JCPenney and all these big stores. So she's working at the Fortune 500 level of sourcing, but she gave us a really good insight on what it's like to go to China and find products. It gives you a little bit of idea on how to source a product. It's not going to really help you a whole lot as a individual sourcer, but it definitely opens your eyes to the possibility. Chris, how much would you recommend to invest on OA, online arbitrage, with the proper techniques to purchase?
Well, it depends on what you're comfortable with and what kind of return you're looking for. Personally, I don't have a limit. It depends on the deals. But I would start off small and build. So if you're brand new to it with the proper technique, start off with 50 or $100. Test it, make sure it works, scale up slowly. In my opinion, there's no stupider thing than to just kind of dive in head first. If you can scale up slowly, yes, it will take a little bit of time, but the negating the mistakes that may happen or mitigating your risks along the way will help you, and you won't crash and burn. Or because if you jumped right in, you may do fantastic. You may soar above everyone else and go, well, Chris was stupid, I shouldn't have listened to him. But there's also that chance that it may fail. So I always suggest scaling up. Maybe start with 100, then go to 200. Kind of reinvest what you have in there, and then build it that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll pay the stupid tax. You'll make a mistake, but you'll learn from it. The idea is not to pay it twice.
Yes, exactly.
And, my first item was it was a lighted baseball cap. Had the LED lights in the brim, and you had a little push button. And Kmart had them on sale for like $8, and some change, and they were selling for $23 online. So I went and bought 4 of them. And what's really interesting, it was the world's worst. It was my first listing. It was the world's worst listing. That Amazon actually removed our photograph, and we didn't even have a photograph. And we had decided me and my partner, we had decided to not call it a lighted hat. We call it a barbecue grilling hat, so you could see what you're doing because all these barbecue lights were all things that snapped onto the grill,
and they fall off and all that.
Fall off, they get rained on, and they get ruined. I thought, well, what's wrong with a cap? We'll just call it a barbecue grill hat. And what was really weird is we actually just basically copied word for word a listing on a clip-on barbecue. So it was a totally wrong listing, and it sat there for about 3 months, and then out of the blue, we sold one day, and the next day we sold another. I have no idea how that happened, but world's worst listings, it does work, even over a period of time. All right,
Yep.
to see, Chris, do you have an Amazon niches websites that generate passive income? What is that?
So I don't. My blog that I have is fbamaster.com. If you hop on there, you'll find the only type of income I generate from that is affiliate links. So I'm not creating.
What type of products?
I have your resources that you'd buy, so your Dymo printers or your poly bags. I have links to those on there. That's really it. I'm an affiliate for like Inventory Labs and App Eagle, which is my repricer software I use. So if you click through my link and sign up, I get a portion of what you pay each month at no cost to you. So
why don't you put the link to your website down in the chat box?
Okay, maybe if I can figure that. How do I?
Should be to your right at the bottom. Just type it in there or
tell me if this works. We'll do it right there. That work?
Oh yes, right on the screen. How'd you do that?
I hit group chat and I.
Cool.
I don't know.
I'm still trying to learn how to make this right. So
I could put a mustache on you if you wanted to. I do know how to do that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay, well, I've seen those before. Anyway, okay, so selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my site. It's about due for a revamp. I'm actually going to redo it and hopefully have a new website up by June or July. So it's in the works right now. That was something I did back in October, November, and I've tried to build it up, but it needs to look better. I fully understand that, especially as a digital guy. So I don't generate a lot of income from that. My other income sources, I do through my Facebook groups. I do make a pretty good chunk of change on affiliate sales through the people who purchase things through my links on there. And then,
so you post them from time to time, or what?
Well, if you ask anybody that's in here right now, I've probably posted 200 deals in the last week of different items that I found. So I'll find them online and post them and say, "Here you guys go." So there's.
So you're acting as an affiliate on just the item.
Yeah.
The 4 to 6%.
I'm up to 8.5% right now on all my stuff.
Okay, cool. Because that's based on volume, I reckon.
Yes. So I do generate some money that way. And then the other thing is when I was in digital marketing, I created some Udemy courses. I created those a year and a half ago, and I still make like $100 or $200 a month from sales.
What kind of courses? Oh, Udemy. Okay.
Udemy courses, and they're all about social media. I have a LinkedIn course, a Facebook course, and they haven't even been updated. They're ones that I've kind of just left there, but Udemy keeps selling them, so I keep letting them pay me. So we go from that. And then I do get a little bit of advertising money from my YouTube channel. So those are the income streams that I have outside of Amazon, plus my job, I guess.
What type? Now, do you ever see yourself leaving your job and replacing it with?
Right now, I could in a heartbeat. I actually make probably double or triple what I make at my job doing my other stuff. But I really like my job.
You'd have to get Obamacare then.
Well, I found out for what I pay for my wife to be on my insurance, it would only cost me about an extra $100 a month to be on that. So it wouldn't be that bad. But I like my job a lot, so I have no interest in leaving there. There would have to be my only issue with it is I drive an hour to work and from work every day. So I do a lot of my talking on the phone during those points, but that would probably be the only reason if I wanted to be closer to home and not drive all the time would be the reason I would leave my job.
And what kind of, Chris says, how do you post an affiliate link on Facebook? That's a good question because you certainly can't post a JV Zoo link on there. It blocks it. Yeah,
so what I do is I have the Amazon affiliate bar that pops up on my Chrome because I installed it through the affiliate site. When I'm on a listing that I like through Amazon, I'll click that button. It'll generate a link. It'll be in a bunch of HTML code. I actually find the hyperlink reference that's in there. I copy and paste that. It sounds really complicated. You just look for the web link that's in the code, take that and paste it. So they'll let me pull those through. And then if I'm using like a Walmart.
Facebook doesn't block that?
No, especially in a group. So they don't have any problem with that on there. And then I use the Walmart integrated thing on Chrome that allows me to just generate any affiliate links from any page on Walmart. And then I use Link Synergy to create my target links when I'm on those pages.
All right. What type of have you taken any courses back when you were getting started, or even recently, that helped you learn the business? You know, there's books to read. Have you read any books on the subject? What would you recommend for resources?
I have not. Honestly, I read the first chapter of Chris Green's Online Arbitrage. That was free. So my dad told me I needed to read it. I have read. No, that's about it. I read the Ryan Grant's Online Selling Experiment is really good. I would highly recommend checking his stuff out. He kind of had the same mentality, a little bit younger guy, kind of went with an experimental model, and it's kind of scaled up. So it's really nice for those who are just getting started and want to see someone who's growing, and not feel like you got to be $1 million seller tomorrow. If you would have told me this time last year that I would have sold $200,000, I would have laughed in your face and gave you $100 bet to say, no, I won't. I'm constantly amazed at kind of how fast it grew. But
so, what kind of margin are you netting on your 200,000?
About 60%.
So that's a six-figure income.
Yeah, on top of my full-time job that I have, so that makes it really nice.
What do you do with all your money, man?
I bought a house and renovated it. So my goal for the next 5 years is to completely pay off the house, to have it completely out of there. And I'm getting my master's right now. So I've been paying for that in cash to go ahead and knock that out. I bought a new lawnmower, stuff like that.
It's fun, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I have more fun making the money, and my wife finds ways to spend it. So it's just kind of like an advantage for me to do it.
That's the deal we have. I make the money and she spends it, but she does a better job than I do.
I understand completely. My wife's like, we need a new king bed. I'm like, well, let me go to a few stores, see if we can have a new king bed. So
exactly.
I do. Yeah. So that's
do you goal shop that way? Do you goal shop? Do you go out this week and say, I need to make X amount of money for this toy or this item, and so or do you just every week just see what you can find?
Well, it depends. Yesterday I went with a friend. I have a friend named Patrick, real good close friend of mine, old college roommate actually. And we went up, and I wanted to make enough money to buy myself an Apple Watch tonight or tomorrow, whatever time I'm pre-ordering it. And I went and made that much money, and now I'm going to go buy myself an Apple Watch. So when I want
You're going to get an Apple Watch. So we have to get a review on that maybe.
That's what the guy's my friend at work. Weird thing is, I had two college roommates. One I work with full time because he got brought in when my digital company got purchased. And then the other one does Amazon, and he likes to do that with me. So I do work with both of my college roommates, and we have a blast doing it. But I'm getting an Apple Watch, and I went last night to pay for it. So sometimes I look at things like that. It gets bad when your wife starts doing that. Like, she blew a tire one time by hitting a curb, and she goes, well, can't you just stop by Walgreens and take care of that? So, well, no, we got to take that got to take it to the shop, get it. But luckily the shop was right next to a Walgreens, and I was able to cover what she had to spend on the tire. But you do kind of look at it a little differently. We're getting ready to go up on a trip this Saturday. I know that along the way I'm going to stop at a few stores, and I'm going to make our whole trip worth, and I'll probably buy dinner for the people we're going to see. So I do it.
Do you track your mileage?
Yes, I do, and I'm not super great at it. But I know there's some apps you can do to track your mileage. I keep a little book in my car, in both cars. So anytime it's a business-related trip, I'll mark the mileage when I start and stop. But
almost every trip can be business-related if you stop somewhere to do a little sourcing.
You are thinking like I think, sir. So yes, it depends on.
Well, it pays you. I mean, I get 39 miles. I mean, I get about 48 miles a gallon in my Jetta VW TDI, and you're getting what? What is it? What is it up to?
56 or 55 cents a gallon or a mile.
So if you drive, 10 miles, that's $5.60. If you drive 100 miles, that's 55. I mean, I'm going to move further away so I can get more.
Yeah, I have my Elantra, and it gets between 33 and 35. And every time, like at work, I'll volunteer to take trips when they're reimbursing mileage, because I'm sitting there going, no, I'm going to make money off of this deal.
Exactly.
Yes, I know there's wear and tear on the car. That's why they give you that. But I'm sitting there going, I think I'm making bank on this, so I'll just go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. So if you guys are out there, what we're talking about is anything you spend in business, that's an expense you can write off, but mileage actually piles up and makes you money. I mean, it's one thing to buy a computer and write the computer off because you paid money for it, but when you drive your car and especially if you get good gas mileage, they're basically paying. It doesn't cost you 55 cents a mile, even with the upkeep. I don't think it gets anywhere near that.
No, so the government allows you to take off, I think it's 55 and a half or 56 and a half, something like that, cents per mile as a deduction. So if you keep track of your mileage, you're able to go in and say, well, I drove 10,000 miles this year. Okay, well, that's $5,500 you can deduct from your income and not have to pay taxes on it. So always keep track of your mileage.
If your income is 60 grand and you reduced it by 5,000, then you pay taxes on 55. You would have paid taxes on 60. That 5,000 at say a 28% tax bracket, you're looking at roughly $1,500 that you would have had to pay.
So keeping mileage is extremely important and very valuable for those who drive a lot.
And not only that, keep track of everything else that you spend on your business. Mitch says, "Where do you get all your energy? So many balls in the air, man."
I don't drink a lot of caffeine, and I just naturally have a lot of energy.
Well, how much time do you spend when you get home? I mean, you got life happening. Does your wife ever get upset that you spend so much time sourcing?
So what I'll do a lot of my sourcing is Saturday mornings. And to be 100% honest, by the time I get back a lot of times, she's not even out of bed. So she doesn't even notice I'm gone. And then when I pack up stuff, she has a really close relationship with her mom. So they'll go shopping and her dad and I will pack everything up. So she fully is aware of it. And like tonight, all I did was carry some products in that I purchased last evening and doing this. So I'll do it. But I try to do a lot of my stuff when she's asleep, or when I have extra free time. And I know I've got 20 million balls in the air. A lot of like to-do lists and calendars are involved, but I keep track of everything and just kind of go. I have bigger picture plans of why I'm getting an MBA and why I'm doing this and why I'm doing that. So I have that motivation to keep going to finish those.
I'm sure you've got it wired now. It's to a point where you probably got it scheduled out. You probably don't do this willy-nilly. You know when you can do the work and get it done, then you got time for the rest of your life. Fernando says, what are some categories a person can start on FBA who is not ungated for? In other words, if you take out all the gated categories, what are some of the what would be a better place or easier place or more forgiving if you make a mistake when it comes to RA, retail arbitrage?
Toys, home, and sports would be my three that I would tell you to start in. If you're not ungated in anything and kind of want ones that are pretty forgiving, you're not going to invest a ton in some of those. Those would be my three. I love toys. Actually, still this year, 30% of my sales have been toys. So I'm still very heavy toy.
How much studying do you need? You know, it's almost like sports. If you're going to be a sports nut, you need to know all the stats and who's pitched an RBI and what their averages are, etc. Do you have to do that on toys? Like what movies are coming out and what toys are hooked up with what fast food joint, and what's going scarce and when you should buy it and sell it versus. I mean,
around Q4, yeah, you kind of have to have a little bit of knowledge. I could walk in, and it was creepy when we went shopping for Toys for Tots when at work, because I could tell you every name of everything that was popular right then and there. It just kind of came natural. It was kind of scary all at the same time, because I don't have kids. So I have no kids, and I knew all of the toys for little kids, girls, boys, everything in between.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy, dude.
Yeah, it is very scary.
that has a perv factor. You got to be careful.
Slightly. I'm like a child molester sometimes. Don't come in my van, kids. I got 20 Elsa dolls back there.
Yeah,
can't come in.
You get stopped, and the cops are like, "What are you doing in this neighborhood, sir?"
Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. But no, when you get started, you don't need to know all that stuff. Here's what you need to do. Take your scanner app, scan something. I used to tell you to buy anything that's under 100,000 sales rank in any category that has at least.
Under, you mean it's 100,000 or it might be 80,000. When you say under, a lot of people think you mean over 100,000, like
yeah, it says when it's all backwards.
So from 100,000 up to the number one seller, anything in that first 100,000.
Yes. So anything in there, I would scan it. If you can make at least 50% on that item, buy it, try it. If you meet those criteria and it's
So you
not
make double
hazmat,
your money.
you would make 1.5 times, or half of it if it's 50%.
Okay, so if it's selling for 10, if you can make $5 on it, is that what you're
That's
saying?
what I would start off
Profit.
trying, and then slowly build from there. You're not going to find right away 200% return on an item. You may get very lucky, but that would be my initial formula. I have a podcast that I did over that. I think I have an online selling podcast. I did one that talks about
really?
building your business model. That information of what I would lay out there tells you everything that you could need to get started in that. And it's pretty step-by-step where I would turn everybody to get started.
Do you want to post a link on that?
I'm not
got it
sure.
handy?
I don't think I have it handy. Online Selling Podcast. It's on iTunes.
Online Selling Podcast. Okay. Okay. And where are my thoughts going here? Wow. I can't believe I don't have a question ready for you.
Did I stump the investigative reporter?
You may have, man. All right, it's just getting late. I did have a couple of beers myself earlier.
Hey, that's fine. I'm
been
just surprised I haven't had to get up to get another one. That's why I had my Gatorade here so I could keep my palate a little wet.
All right, so starting off in an ungated, something I wanted to point out. You had mentioned a term or a word I wanted to define, but that's okay. But starting out, you don't have to start with a lot of money. You just have to start with something. And I would recommend you guys do that. If you haven't bought anything yet, what's the big deal? I mean, I know what I was going to ask you. The scanner app, does it calculate the FBA fees or whatever else you need to do to make your calculation on the fly?
Yep. The only thing you'll need to adjust when you go in there is your shipping per pound in the settings on the Amazon seller app. I would put that in mine for my fees I include in it. I put 75 cents a pound. I know it's very high. Accounting placement with my stuff and prep fees in there. That's how I account for it. So I know that some of my items I see, I actually have higher return than what shows up on my phone, but it's a self-measure. It's a
insurance policy.
Yes. So I'd put 75 cents a pound. My shipping costs are 43 cents a pound total, but that's neither here nor there. But once you switch that over, it'll actually calculate all of the other fees for you. And you'll see this nice little thing that says net profits. And what you do is you take that and subtract out the price. And if you make money, you make it. So if it's a $10 item and you see 15 net profit, you made $5. Scoutify and I think Profit Bandit allow you to type in the price and it'll actually give you the percentage return. So that is a nice feature there. I just do the quick math in my head and go for it.
Okay. Do you source online for products? Yes, you do. You've talked about that. So maybe, Greg, you didn't catch that on the front end. You could recap if you want. And what app again is that, Greg? That's the Amazon seller app. It's the Amazon app. You can go to the App Store if you got a Droid. Go to the Play Store and App Store for
if you have a Droid,
Apple.
I'm sorry, but you can go to the Play Store and get it. I'm just waiting for my Apple Watch to scan stuff. I know it can't, but I just think that would be really cool if I could walk by and it would just go. Poof.
But you've got an Apple Watch and it doesn't do that. So what good is it?
I don't have it yet. I'm gonna order it. It comes on pre-sale.
I have a Droid. Put this right in your face.
I'm sorry that your phone doesn't work as well as mine. And there's
whose picture was that?
We're not gonna talk about that. That's my wife.
That's your wife?
I forgot that I had that on there. It was a joke.
So now I've got bribery material on you.
That's fine.
Chris, do you a sales? I guess you meant use. Chris, do you use a sales tax certificate when sourcing locally? In other words, since you're reselling, can you go into a shop and say, I don't have to pay tax because I'm selling online? I'm reselling.
Yes, I can. And I always forget to take my stupid license in to get that card at Walmart and other places. So it's my fault that I don't sometimes. But yes, you can. And as long as I get it through my thick skull that I need to do it, I will do it.
How does that? So let's say I go to my local store and buy something. I have to pay the sales tax. And then Amazon is what, going to collect the sales tax?
So no, what happens is you basically become tax exempt at the stores that will allow you to they qualify you as a reseller. So since you're going to be selling it to someone else down the road, you're not having to pay a sales tax because you're not using it. So you can actually bypass that sales tax at the retail level, and then you are responsible for it at the Amazon level when you have to file your sales taxes on your sales. So if I were to walk into Walmart and get my sales tax exemption card, when I go into there, I can actually get all of my stuff that I buy for the business purpose of resale tax-free, and then when I sell it, I'm responsible for the sales. I'm obligated for that sales tax.
So do you have to click a box in Seller Central and say, oh, collect this sales tax for me because I didn't pay it at the store?
Yes, and my tax guy takes care of all that magic stuff for me, and then Amazon collects it on that end. But
so
otherwise,
is it really just netting out the same thing, though? I mean, you either get it on the front end, or get it, and it's not really a big advantage, is it?
Well, it is. There's a few different ways it's an advantage. If you sell to a state that doesn't have sales tax, you don't have to pay that sales tax. So you're not liable for it because I don't have a nexus in that state.
Okay. So if you paid sales tax locally and then you sold it to somebody that doesn't have to pay tax, you just wasted your tax rate.
Yeah, I just wasted.
And ours is 9 3/4% here.
Yeah, so you would have wasted that. If you sold it to your own state and didn't take that out, you would be responsible for not only your sales tax, but the sales tax of the person who bought it. So you'd be double liable. So basically, you'd have an 19 and a quarter or 19 and a half.
Almost 20%.
Yeah, so it's very important to do that. I am an idiot sometimes and don't remember to do it. I have done it at a few stores. When I make my really large purchases, I do it, but sometimes I forget. But you do get a double dip. My accountant brought that up when I went in about last month. He goes, you really need to focus on make sure your tax is exempt so the government's not double dipping on the taxes you're paying.
Cool. That's a good thing to know. Telex says, good thing this webinar isn't being recorded. No, it is being recorded.
Yeah.
I might just edit that out like a little, 12 second. What do you call that app that you can send stuff now? Send it to your wife.
That's fine. She would laugh at it.
Yeah. So, Chris, do you pay sales tax twice? And you were just explaining that. So
yeah,
that
my recommendation for anyone who's starting off selling, get the sales tax stuff figured out as soon as you can, because you are liable for it, even if you don't realize you are. Ignorance is not an answer for that. And when I started, I had about $4,000 of liability I needed to figure out and get paid to the right places. So it is very important that you take care of that as soon as possible so that you're not hit with that burden later on. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away.
You guys have any other questions? We're going to start. We started late, but we normally wrap up around 10. I don't know how long you want to go for.
I'm good whenever you are, unless I fall asleep.
All right. What is your favorite big store to shop?
I love Walmart and Walgreens, my two favorites.
Really? Why Walgreens?
That's where I started, and I just have one of those half photographic memories. So I can just walk through a Walgreens and go, yes, that's good, that's not, and kind of remember the prices and everything. So that's my favorite store.
You ever do any coupon clipping on top of it to leverage?
No, I should, but I don't.
Right. So when you're walking through Walgreens, are you looking at the toy aisle? You're looking at the goods and services? You're not looking at hairspray, right?
It depends. If you actually want to hear everything that I look at, when you do the online selling podcast, I have an episode that walks you through what I look for as I walk through an entire Walgreens.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
Nope, I did that. So it's me talking through the entire store of what I'm looking for the orange tags, the blue tags, the yellow tags. There's always a clearance aisle in the back or in the middle. I'm looking for certain things when I'm there. So I walk everybody through, and it's free to listen to. So you can hop on that if you're interested.
Ty was asking, will using Inventory Labs help sort out with the tax responsibilities, or is that TaxJar?
TaxJar handles the tax responsibility aspect of that. That's why I use it. Inventory Labs, the cool parts about that is it'll allow you to see which stores are your most profitable, which items are your most profitable, and you can see percentages and returns and all of that jazz there. So I use it, and I know my most profitable place in the last 3 months has been Walmart. I've sourced there more than anything, and they've been doing a lot of inventory clearance because they're trying to get ready for taking inventory. So they're moving a lot of stuff out right now. So I've been shopping very heavily at Walmart's. During the summer, it's very heavy Walgreens. And as we go into fall and winter, It really depends on whatever store I'm close to. I usually just have a very random assortment of items.
Well, fall, or you said earlier Q4, and if I don't know if you guys caught that, he's talking about the fourth quarter, which is Christmas time. That's a whole different ball of wax when it comes to selling in that. Walgreens is shutting 200 stores, is what Greg says. That could be a big opportunity.
And there is one closing near me, and I've already talked with the manager, and it is a very big opportunity. So please check those out and make friends with the people, and they'll tell you when the stuff's coming in and when they'll be doing the markdowns.
Well, you know, our last episode, we had Helen Edwards, which is also AKA Michael Dudley Dudley. Is actually a fella. And he actually does that. He goes in and makes friends with the managers and finds out, do you have anything in the back room that you're having to get rid of? And he
I do that
literally was.
Well,
have you done any of that type of sourcing?
Yeah, it's quite fun when you do that. The people at my local Walgreens know me as the Amazon guy, and I'll come in and I'll look at them and say, what do you guys need to get rid of today? And sometimes they'll let me in the back and show me what they need to get rid of. They'll let me scan it. I've had one lady at a place I went to ask me why I was buying a whole bunch of stuff. And she goes, you know, we have like 2,000 more of those in the back. And I said, why, you do? Oh, okay, I'll take them all. And she looked at me like, you serious? I'm like, I want all of them. They were these shampoos from the liquidation warehouse. And
what were they selling for?
Well, I bought these. They're these big green bottles of shampoo, and I'm sold out of them now. I bought them for $2.50 a bottle, and I was selling them for $60 a bottle.
Whoa! Now who's going to pay $60 on a closeout item?
It's a fancy French shampoo. I mean, I have no idea. I've sold every single one I bought of that entire line gone. So
now, do you ever look at the geographical map and see where all of those sales are going to, and say, "Oh, they're all going out to to the West Coast for some reason"? Does it make?
Most were going out to California or New York. My favorite ones are when they're going like 2 miles away from the store, and I'm like, seriously, you guys could have drove and got that. But it's all that lack of information, and if you don't know the deals are there or an item's being sold at a store, and the only place you know you can get it's on Amazon. You'd be amazed what people will pay for things. Even though we wouldn't do that, that may have been a person's favorite shampoo in the entire world, and they can't find it anywhere else. So it may have been.
That is true. That does happen quite a bit. In fact, there are people that, the brand is carried by a store or a chain of stores that say in the South, and then they move up to the Northeast coast, and they can't. That store is no longer there. They can't get their favorite shampoo or their favorite item. And they are willing to pay to get something that they know.
Oh, yeah.
So, I know people who, when they get anywhere near White Castles, they get, they get them frozen and carry them back and put them in their fridge.
I won't even drive down to the White Castle if you paid me to go eat there. So it's a completely different side of things. And like if I moved away, there's a local Mexican restaurant. I'd probably pay top dollar to get somebody to drive me their salsa because I love it so much. But it's just.
I wish I could get the curry that I miss on Wheelock Street in Middlewich, England, in Cheshire.
See?
It's my favorite curry that I used to get every Friday night, and I can't get it anymore. There's no good curry around here.
And that is where there's profit to be made on some discontinued items, because sometimes you don't know what's going through a person's head and why they're willing to pay that, but it may bring back a childhood memory. It may be their favorite dish. Yeah, I don't question things. I just look at the numbers. If it works, it works. And if not, I don't know why people bought mayonnaise off of me online. I went to the dollar store and got it. It was $1. Someone paid $6 for it. I don't know why they did it, but they wanted it.
They may live in the country. They may live in the country, and it may be a 40-mile drive to get to the nearest store.
Or they may live in a apartment in New York and don't want to take the subway to the store.
True. I mean, there's a safety factor there. Let's see if we have more. Do you check the BSR of every product first before products in the store?
Do I check the what?
Do you check the BSR of every product first before buying products in the store?
What's the BSR?
Yeah, you're looking at the BSR when you scan it.
Yeah, what's the BSR?
The best-selling rank. It's the rank.
Oh, sales rank. Oh, yeah, I'm always looking at those. Sorry. Even terminology confuses me.
Don't the usually help you guys more if you throw them a bone? What's a bone?
My managers, like Walgreens, I heard that from talking with one of the managers, they get actual raises and bonuses by their net sales through a store. So they are always very nice to me when I come in because I always raise up their
You might buy
sales.
2,000 bottles or something.
Yeah. So the funniest part about it is that I even noticed the Walgreens I typically go source at, and it's just I go to a lot of stores. Like I was at Meyer last night. I go to Toys R Us. I'll go to Target. I go to like local chains. But Walgreens is just I have a lot of examples from. They're starting to get a new type of inventory in because their computer has saw that they had an increase in sales. So they're getting whole new sets of inventory because I've been buying stuff there. I mean, like I know at my local Walgreens here, I spent over $14,000 last year in inventory there. So their sales went up by $14,000, and the manager did nothing about that besides just help me out buying clearance and other items during Christmas.
Well, I'll tell you what was weird about that hat that I bought. When I went in to buy it, they said they had four. They actually had more than four, but there was only four that were marked down to the $8. The rest of them were selling at 20-something dollars.
Never
Like,
surprises me. I was doing stuff last night that I swear it was marked down there, and then I got up to the register, not marked off. They went back and checked. No, sir, that's not the right thing. And other things that were marked at $8 ended up 2. Why stuff happens, I have no idea.
well, I asked them that why it was that way. And they said, well, at the time that they decided to close these hats out, they had too many on the rack, and so they marked them down. And then now they're cycling in new hats that hadn't been there as long, and it's how long something's been on the shelf. A lot of times is what dictates that it needs to be marked down. Even though there's another one right next to it, the same exact one that it's at full price. It's just crazy.
Yeah, so like this last night, I have no idea. It's like a Scotch tape, double-sided tape applicator. I have no idea why this was marked down. Looks pretty new. It's getting close to school season again. I bought it for $3. I'm going to make $6 off of it. I bought 15 of them last night. So it's just very random because I would have never guessed you would mark that down, especially with school coming up. But for some reason, they needed to clear off the shelves. They needed that shelf space for something else, so they're going to get rid of them.
Chris, did you take advantage of Radio Shack closeouts when they shut down?
Oh, yes, I did. You should have seen the car after I stopped at one of those. But yes, I did.
So do you ever get some weird looks from other people when you're scanning barcodes? Like, or you don't work?
Oh, yes. I've actually been, one lady tried to shop my cart the other day because she thought since it had a bunch of clearance, it was just a clearance cart in the aisle. She started going through my cart, which was very entertaining. I've been asked where things are in the store. I've actually helped people that where like the store employee was trying to help them, and I was actually telling them where the stuff actually was because I knew it a little bit better. So I've done that, and then you get some really strange people, especially when you're in line checking out. And at first, I would kind of lie and say, "Well, this is for my kids," but I don't have kids. And then I just started that excuse didn't work anymore. And then now I just say it's a long story. I buy and sell things online, and then you get that look like, "Is that legal? Are you really doing that?" I said, like I said, long story, and just go about my business and kind of laugh now.
Now, do you have any of your disciples in the room here that have learned from you and are doing pretty good?
I don't know. I actually have no idea how to see the people that are in the
You
room.
don't? Oh, go up to the top and click on chat. There's a chat. You're probably got something else showing. Top right, there's a chat.
On my back end, all I have is the Google Hangout layout. I don't have your other stuff.
You don't have Webinar Jam. Okay.
Nope.
Well, there's Greg and Angela and Teresa and Dennis and Donna, Fernando. All right, you guys know if you are a disciple. If you're a disciple, speak up and say, "Yeah, that's me. I learned a lot from Chris by being his."
Chuck's in here. I know Chuck's one.
All right,
yeah,
Chuck.
Yeah, I was just on the phone coaching him last night. Yep. Hey, Chuck, how's it going?
Or did he misspell his own name?
No, that's how he spells it.
All right, Chuck, I'm going to do something here, if it'll work. Edit. I'm going to invite, hey, Chuck, if I invited you on to pop into the room with us, Chuck, would you be willing to do that? Because this is a feature I want to see. You can maybe tell us your story of how you've worked with Chris. When I click on this, no, but I could be. Oh, that's just Greg. I'm just going to go ahead and check. I'm going to click on invite as a speaker, and I think you'll get a link that you can click on that would actually bring you into the room. And if you could, we could do it and just have a quick little chat and see if it works, and at the same time hear your story.
Chuck
I'm
has
learning
a pretty
from.
good story. I was just chatting with him yesterday on my drive home. Marco's part of the group. Ross is part of one of my groups. I found out if you click the little webinar jam thing on the left-hand bar, it'll
Oh,
pop
here he
you up.
comes. He comes. This is cool. Are you there, Chuck? Do you have a microphone? He doesn't have no camera. He has no camera. He has no microphone, but he's in the room.
Well, Chuck, we're glad you could join us. And if Chuck, if he needs me to go through, I literally was just on the phone with him last night. He did really, really good in Q4 last year, and he's looking to ramp up his sales because his day job that he has is a little demanding. So he was a backer of my book. I did a Kickstarter campaign to kind of fund my book publishing costs, and in return, I got anybody that donated a certain amount of money got coaching calls. So I was on the phone with Chuck last night. We've laid out a plan for the next 4 calls that I have with him, and he was a real motivated guy, real smart, and what he was telling me was that he needed more of people to kind of tell him it could be done than kind of coaching. He needs to learn some of the techniques that I have for finding items, and we're going to go through that with one of our sessions. But I really think that he has no camera audio, but Chuck, I apologize if I'm telling your life story here. He's actually an architect and wants to end up leaving down the road, but he likes it. He wants to be able to kind of have that freedom where he's at. So I'm kind of helping him, and I love helping people because I know that I make a lot of money on it, but if I can help someone make $100 or $200 every month, that could change someone's life. So that's why I do everything that I do, because it may be able to pay off that car payment. It may put your kid through college. It may let you take your wife on a trip if you save up all summer. It could do a dinner. I just like to help people. So that's why I provide all the content that I do, because it helps people in the long run.
Man, that's cool. I'm gonna say that you've got a pretty good story, and you're selling a dream when you tell people that. I mean, how many hours do you figure you work on this business in a week?
Probably about 15 to 20.
So if you can work an extra 15 or 20 hours part time and make an extra 120K a year, is that something you might be open to? I think a lot of people would be open to it.
But I never want to push it as that, because I am extremely motivated and I'm willing to give up my Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings or do this or that to do that. Not everyone needs $120,000 extra money each year. Everyone would love it. I mean, no one's going to turn it down, but there's that whole work-life balance. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to be with my kids. I don't need to be doing certain things or whatever. So I have that extra time to make that money. But it's just, you can go through there, and that's why I like to help, because there may be somebody that $500 a month may change what they're doing forever.
Oh yeah.
And if I can
actually there's a stat. So my background is financial services, and actually there's a stat that about 80% of the bankruptcies in this country could be avoided by an extra $500 a month.
Wow.
Isn't that something? How do we get to learn more from you, Chris? How can people follow you?
And I've seen that we've had like 9 people that have joined the group or want to join. FBA Master Group on Facebook is my home base. If you hop in there, you can ask everybody else kind of where to go, what to do. The community there is absolutely fantastic. They will, if I can't answer a question, they will answer it for me. They are out of this world. I got some of the top minds in the field, in my opinion, in there. So you can join me there. FBAmaster.com takes you to my blog, which has links to everything else. So if you can't find the Facebook group, go there. There's a link to it. I have an email list. You can sign up for that. I've only ever sent 2 emails. Just I run out of time. But you can join that. I'll send you an item that you can buy for resale. It's kind of my pay it forward moment there. So I give you an item and then you run with it. So, cool. And you'll find, like in my groups, the only thing I ever ask that's paid, I usually don't even take the money. It's usually for a charity or another cause, and I'll give out free deals for those who donate. We did a wheelchair repair for a kid. A member of the group was posting on his public. I put it in there, and I sent a list of 100 items that would be good items to resell to anybody who made any type of donation. So we did that one, and then I'm doing one right now for my favorite local brewery. They're expanding, and anybody that donates any bit to the cause, I give them a list of 200 items to look at. So I do it to kind of pay it forward, because I know what that little bit can do for somebody, and it makes a huge difference.
Well, man, I can tell you're sincere, and I can tell in your voice that you do enjoy helping people, and I appreciate you allowing me to post our webinars in your groups.
I just hope you find out that I run like 4 of them, and I just kept having to laugh every time you would ask if it was okay to post, and I'm sitting there going, Jake, this is my group too. You can go ahead and do it. I just had to laugh every time. Anything.
Okay, so I'm wondering, how come you didn't tell me you had 4 groups?
Well, that's my fault. Anything that's an FBA master, you're welcome to post anytime. These are great webinars. I watched the rerun of the other one, which I thought was great. But yeah, feel free to post anytime. I just forgot to tell you that we have an accounting group. We have a private label group, which the private label group, I'm upfront and honest. I said, I don't do this, but people in here may have some really good information to share. So I'll be the avenue to connect everybody. So I have that on there. And then there's the Bolo group, and there's the FBA master group, which is the main one. And then I have one random one from a long time ago that's FBA Master Bolo number 3. No idea why I have it. It's just there. People join. I don't post anything in it, but it's there.
There you go, guys. So look around. There's probably 15 or 20 groups that are related to private label, etc. And I'm gonna, while we're plugging, I guess I'll put in.
Oh, you got all quiet. Must be lagging.
If you got, did screen freeze? Okay, there we
go.
I'm
probably lagging.
If you're not familiar with our group, we've got a group called From Alibaba to Amazon Sourcing Solved, and we talk about how to get private label products over from China to the U.S. And
I'm already learning a lot from that group.
Oh, are you? Okay, good deal. I'm about to start another Facebook group to kind of tag this webinar series so that people can go there and know when the latest webinar is going on. But anyway, guys, hey, I want to thank you, Chris, for taking your time out. We spent about 2 hours here. That's what we like to typically go for. And I really appreciate all the attendees that hung in there when we were late. I really didn't think this thing was going to go off tonight. I was sweating bullets trying to relaunch and clear my cache, and I thought I was going to have to restart my computer. But anyway, we figured it out.
You saved it. You're good.
So anyway, hey guys, thanks for coming. Chris, thanks for what you do, brother. There will be a replay link. So if anybody in your group says, oh man, I missed it, well, I'll have a replay link and they can watch the replay.
Okay.
So with that, any last words?
Yeah, everybody feel free. I've got to tell you, Jake seems like a very awesome guy just from the little bit that I've talked with him. So if you follow me or him, I think you're both in very good hands there. And I have a feeling down the road I'm going to be learning from this guy. And I appreciate the honor for being on this webinar. And I learned a lot, and it's fun to talk about it because my wife gets bored of me talking about this. So it's fun to find people to have a lot of interest. Right? Yeah. So
it's good therapy.
Yeah. But I really appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And hey guys, that'll do it. We're going to wrap up. I'm going to stop the broadcast. Go tell your friends to look at the replays. By the way, you'll be getting emails from me through Get Response. I had to actually get a proper email service because I got to the point where I had about 1,000 emails. I was trying to send them out through my Gmail account. That just doesn't work anymore. But I want people, I want people to connect. So anyway, if you're not getting an email, private message me in Alibaba to Amazon, and I'll be glad to get you on the list. And so let me see if there's what we got on here before I click off. Thank you so much, Chris and Jake. I love the group, Chris. Wow, you're very unselfish. Thank you so much for everything you do for free. I appreciate you. I don't know if that was for me or for you.
Well, I think both of us.
We'll take that as both of us. Yeah. So anyway, hey guys, that's it. I'm gonna hit the stop broadcast, and we'll see you on the next one.